IVM.
She has dabbled in theatre, passed her CA, and finally landed in television business, where he spent 22 years launching channels like Zee Cinema, UTV. She served as the Chief Operating Officer of UTV and Senior VP at National Geographic. A challenge in her life came when she was diagnosed with cancer, but now nothing deterred her from living life. She bounced back and now she trekked to Everest Base Camp. And since then, she has not been looking back and focusing on her adventurous journey. Meet my dear friend, Dilshad. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Dilshad.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you for having me here.
So, we know each other for like, God knows how many years now. It's like 2006?
2007.
2006, 2007.
Yeah, when Ronnie brought us all together.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And a lot has changed in your life since then. And of course, my life, I still remember the time we spent together in Ambi Valley, where you gave me this huge lecture where I remember I was like almost 120 odd kgs.
Yeah. And I remember whacking you on the hand and saying, stop dipping into that extra samosa or whatever there was on that table. Yeah. We moved a lot since then.
Exactly. No, I'm the one giving health advice.
You're the one giving health advice now. Yes. That is so funny, isn't it?
Exactly.
Tables have turned.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that was literally the peak of your media career, right? I mean,
Yes.
you were heading UTV's
Yes.
entire world. It was the World Cinema, right?
Yes,
The new
yes.
channel,
The
which
World
Ronnie,
Movies,
the
yes.
World Movies channel. You were COO there,
Yeah.
and before that, you were with Star and all these things. What happened? What made you leave media? Before I go into your media story, I want to know, why did you leave media at such a high of your career?
I was there for 22 years, Vishal, and I felt that I had stopped learning. In fact, I got my high when I worked with Ronnie for that 18-month period.
Ronnie's
Because for the first time in many, many years, I felt like, wow, I'm learning something finally, again, after so long. I think I had it with media. It was I think 22 years is a good enough time to switch careers. I always feel that you stop learning. And there is this thing we used to have in media. I don't know if you're allowed to say this on podcasts.
Of course, this is in media too.
Oh, great. So it's called SSDD, which means same shit, different day. So I had enough of the SSDD. I just couldn't take it anymore.
No, but I mean, with world cinema, I mean, you were going and getting Iranian movies and French movies.
At the end of the day, it was all the same, right? So you know the story about the World Movies channel, right?
No,
you don't know the story. Okay, so there was this... When I was called in by Ronnie and appointed by him to head World Movies and the Hindi movie channel, so I had these two extreme channels. One was this very, very pretentious world movies where everybody spoke in French and Spanish and German, and then there was this Bollywood Hindi movie channel. And so I remember that Ronnie handed me this long list of movies, and I looked at it and I said, what is this? And he goes, oh, those are the movies we bought for World Movies. So I said, but I thought you were asking me to head the channel. So we start with acquisition, right? You're already giving me the movies. And then I saw the list. Fantastic list of movies for world cinema lovers. But it was not a channel that ordinary people like you and me would watch, ever. So I just looked and I said, Francois Truffaut, Louis Buñuel, and I was like, Salvador Dali. I was like, no, Ronnie, this is not going to be the movie channel I have in my mind. He said, oh, but we've already spent $1 million. I said, well, that's your problem, not mine. It's your money. I'm sorry, but I'm starting from scratch. So that's how we started World Movies, yeah.
So
we finally took Ronnie's $1 million movies and played them in the afternoon slots because I was like, this is not how.
I know it was quite a tough thing, right? Even today, world movie is not that big in India, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it was extremely courageous of him to take on something like that. Extremely. And not that, I mean, I know that most of the directors of Bollywood would be watching those Chinese action movies and those Korean movies and copying them for Bollywood. I mean, we could see, okay, this one's come from here and this one's come from there. Oh, that sequence has been picked up from this movie. But to have to put it up on an entire national stage and get everybody to have it in their drawing room was quite something else. It was extremely challenging.
And what worked for that? What didn't work for that channel?
What I think what worked was our choice of movies. We had a very, very clear marketing positioning that we had established, which was this is world cinema, but it's world cinema that you and I would like to watch. So we're not, because whenever you said the word world cinema, everybody talked about it as esoteric, very, very arty-farty kind of thing.
Kurosawa movies,
yeah, the Kurosawas. And so I said, no, that's not what so what we did was, in the acquisitions list itself, we first decided that there was going to be no movie that had been made before 2000. So it was going to be anything after 2000. Therefore, it had to be a color movie. Therefore, it had to be, a lot of the people were actors that we recognized in English from Hollywood, like Gerard Depardieu and Angela Tutu, all those kinds of people. So you knew there was Jackie Chan movies in Chinese, which nobody has ever seen before. So that's what we brought in. And that was the greatest challenge. The greatest challenge was the advertisers.
But it almost looked like you had become an expert in movies, because you
Yes.
started your career with Zee Cinema, right?
Yeah, wasn't it strange? I started my career in India with Zee Cinema. I ended with world movies. I'm like, two ends of the
entire
spectrum,
spectrum.
and everything in between, including Star Plus and National Geographic,
And how
History
did
Channel.
Zee Cinema happen?
So Zee Cinema actually,
And this is which year we're talking about?
1995.
Wow.
1995. I had just finished my master's in telecommunication broadcast multi-channel management in the US. And I just, when you finish your master's, you send out 1,000 resumes, right? You send out every Tom, Dick and Harry. And I sent one out to Tony Watts, who was the head of Star Movies in Hong Kong at that time. And if you know Tony, Tony was a person that we all studied about in our books while we were at school in the US, because he's really the master of pay channel
While you
movies.
did hate the history, studying the history of all of this.
So he was truly the master of pay movies. And so when I got a call from him, he said, "Hi, this is Tony Watts here." And I was like, "Tony who?" And he goes, "Tony Watts." And I was like, "Ha ha, very funny." And then there was a silence. "No, it really is Tony Watts." And I was like, "Okay, why are you calling me?" So that's how it started. So he says, "We'd like to, can you meet me?" And so he flew me down to Bombay. We had an interview, and before I knew it, I was on
But
board.
that time you were in the US when he
I was in the US, yeah.
But were you applying for a job in India, or were you just applying for a job?
I was just applying for a job anyway. I was footloose and fancy free. It didn't matter to me where. But I knew one thing for sure. I didn't want to work in the US.
Okay.
I did not want to work in the US. I was unwilling to give the US the benefit of my education. I wanted to come back to India. That was my bottom line. I was very clear about that. So everything else was just a stepping stone.
And what made you uniquely, exciting for Zee Cinema? I mean, you had,
Actually, I didn't know it was Zee Cinema.
Okay.
I had no idea that I was applying for Zee Cinema. I just wrote him a very, very generic letter about I knew that Star TV was entering India in a big way. So I was perfectly positioned. I understood multi-channel management. I understood Hindi. And I could communicate with the Angrez. So, I thought I was like the cat's whiskers, frankly speaking. I thought I was the next best thing since sliced bread. And I said, "You just have to hire me, because, you're not going to find the perfect combination like this." And I guess he agreed. So that's why he hired me. So,
And which
and then when I came in, when I was hired, he said, "Okay, so I'm sending you to launch Zee Cinema in Bombay." And I was like, "Zee what?" And he goes, "Zee Cinema." And I was like, "What is that?" He said, "It's a Bollywood Hindi movie channel." And I was like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yes." So I had no clue what I was getting myself in for when I was hired by Star TV.
And they directly made you head this.
They directly made me operations manager. And I'm like, he says, "Are you sure you can do it?" I was like, "Yeah. I've never launched a channel before, but," he said, "It's just a big product. It's just a big production. Don't worry about it." I was like, "Cool." So I went. But I had great support. I had great support from Hong Kong. There was Paula Mason. There was Tony Watts. There was John Alone. There were lots of people I learned from. We were lucky in those days, 1994, 95, 96. We had a great bunch of Australians and Britishers and Americans, New Zealanders heading Star TV, who were all willing to teach. So we learnt a lot.
And this were the early days of broadcast.
This is the early days of television in India.
Yeah. Multi-camera setup was like a big thing. I remember people used to say
yeah.
this is a 3 camera, 5 camera.
Oh yeah.
Today I don't think so. People even
No,
count the
they
amount
don't
of
even count the number of cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, but that time it was like all
Yeah.
these things. But you also dabbled a lot in Hindi, like TV serials and stuff
Yes,
like
I
that,
did.
right?
Yes, I did. So before I went to the US, this was after I finished my college at Sapphires. I did a social communication media course. Even before that, actually, or was it? I forget. No, yeah. After that, I joined Sridhar Shirsagar. He was one of the
pioneers,
maestros,
yeah, the
pioneers of fictional TV on Doordarshan in India. He's a guy who was famous for producing and directing Khandan.
Yeah. The first
And
little
that's
soap
right,
opera, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I joined him towards the very end of that Khandan series, and then he had launched something else called Manzil.
So
And
Khandan was like in late 80s,
that
right?
was late 80s, yes. That was 80, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 88, 89, 90, yeah.
And what were you doing for this?
So I started off as a continuity girl. And
What is a
a
continuity?
continuity girl is basically somebody who keeps continuity. So, if you get hit on the right side of your face and you have a bruise over there, the actor, then the next time you take that shot, which might be 2 months later, which is a sequence that comes after that sequence in the show, then you have to remember that the slap was on the right hand side of the face and that it wasn't over here. So that's what a continuity
That's
person.
actually a job, huh? Continuity.
I completely screwed that one up. I so clearly, and that was one of my greatest lessons I ever learned. My first lesson in television broadcasting was that. So there was Tinu Anand, and that show had some amazing stars. There was Tinu Anand.
All those people have become like mega stars.
Yeah,
right?
there was Anju Mahendru, there was Benjamin Gilani, Malika Tiwari, and there I was, this little twit of a 22, 23-year-old telling them what to do. And fortunately for me, I was never starstruck ever. So that helped. And I remember one sequence where Tinu Anand is slapped on the face and, he takes his hand off and there's this big bruise over there. And then she then announced cut. And then I think we shot this next sequence of that episode like about a week later. And I had forgotten to sketch Tinu's face. Normally in continuity, I would sketch the face and I would say scar or something like that to remember where it was. And I didn't do that. And the next time we shot the sequence, the bruise was on the left-hand side of his face. And I remember after the whole sequence was shot, it suddenly occurred to me, I was like, oh my God, his bruise is on the wrong side of the face. Oh my God, I'm going to get killed. Shridar's just going to kill me. So I finally went up. I didn't know who between the devil and the deep blue sea, do I tell Sridhar or do I tell Tinu Anand? Because I didn't know who to go to. So I finally thought, I went to Tinu and I said, Tinu. And I couldn't get myself to say Tinu Ji. I just couldn't. So, I would say Mr. Anand or Tinu. I was like, yeah, what's it? I was like, आपका जो bruise है ना वो गलत side पे है. What do you mean? So I said, आपका right hand side में होना था, left hand side. Continuity कौन रख रहा है? I said, मैं रख रही हूँ continuity. I'm really sorry. So he looks at me and he goes, अच्छा ठीक है. Sridhar, we are shooting again. So she said, but why? The shot was fine. No, we are shooting again. So, he was a really kind man. He didn't let on that the whole thing had gone wrong. He went in, he put his makeup on, he came out.
But does it make a big difference? I mean, do people really notice such small things?
I notice.
Okay.
To me, that was the most important thing. I notice. I've always been told that perfectionism is the split side of the other side of narcissism, but I don't care. I try to be as perfect as I possibly can. I think over the years, since I'm 23 to 51, I think I have come down on that scale of perfectionism a lot. But at that time, I was totally anal. I was like, it can't be done. You can't do it. So I had to confess. Otherwise, it would have passed. Nobody would have known until you were on the edit table. Then it would be really glaring, But otherwise, it was just fine. But I couldn't accept it. It wasn't me.
Wow. And then apart from Khandan, did you work on a lot of other shows also?
So I worked on, I didn't work on Khandan. I think I just worked on the last 2 edits. I did Manzil, which was like, I think 26 parts. And then there was another show after that he launched. In fact, Sridhar fell ill in the last few episodes of Manzil. So actually I took on the mantle of direction. So yeah,
From being a continuity girl to direction.
because I had grown to be his assistant at that time, and then he said he just handed me the script and he said, "Come on, you go and direct these last 4 episodes." And I was like, "Are you crazy?" And he was like, just go. You know better than everybody else what needs to be done." But the greatest part at that time was there was the sound engineer Hemant Shah. I still remember him so well. Hemant Bhai said, "Kya fikar kar? Mujhaum na? I'm there. Why are you worried?" My hands used to shake like this. I would hold the script and my hands would shake, and there would be Benjamin Gilani going, "Yes, Anna, what do you want me to do after this?" And I'm like, so that's how I started. But it was great experience. It was great. It also taught me one other lesson, which is just dive straight in, don't
jump
try.
in the deep sea.
Jump in, because, no point in trying to see what
so
a thanda hai ki garam hai.
continuity girl to directing, how much time?
2 years. It was 2 years. I was willy-nilly suddenly found myself directing the last 4 episodes. But it was a great experience. And I think, so ever since that, one thing that taught me was I take my assistants and I just throw them in the deep end. I always did that. I was like, sink or swim. And if you're starting to sink, I'll put my hand out and pull you out. If you swim, well and good.
But in today's world, everybody is all about, no, you have to do process. You have to learn A, B, C, D before you learn Z. You would directly go from A to Z.
Yeah, but in that 2-year period, I did learn A, B, C, D all the way till Z. It was just so time crunched up. That's all. But I still feel that you get thrown into the deep end, you learn a lot more and you learn a lot faster. Because if you try to make the learning into a process, then you silo the person and, they're not getting the complete picture of what they're expected to do. They're only looking at this one portion, having absolutely no idea of how the other parts are fitting in.
So I said I wanted to understand one thing, that how does, a Parsi girl who's like, studied in, traditional school and colleges suddenly go to start directing. Like, how did this all start? And you did your chartered accountancy and all of that, right? I mean, how does all this connect?
So, fortunately, I never lived in Bombay. So, my Hindi was always good. I'm going to say that very clearly, because I think most of the Parsis don't know how to speak Hindi. And so they call it the Bagh Hindi, no? You know what the Bagh Hindi is, right? So it's like,
half Gujarati.
Half Gujarati, half Hindi. The cupboard is a kabat and stuff like that. So I was always good in Hindi. I was brought up for 3 years in Patna.
Oh.
And my dad had a transferable job. He was in the Tata. So we moved from Bombay to Delhi to Secunderabad to Patna to Bangalore. So Patna was a great experience. I was there as a teenager.
And he was in which part of Tata in particular?
He moved from Lakme to Tomco at that time to Tata Tea.
Wow.
So Patna was an experience because I came from Secunderabad, which is South India. I was completely clueless in Hindi. And there was Sanskrit to boot. And so my parents said, well, you can either think or you take it on as a challenge. So I decided to take it on as a challenge. And I think my Sanskrit teacher took me on as a challenge, saying, let's see what we can teach this Parsi chick. And so, I think my 3 years in Patna were fantastic for that reason, because it taught me Hindi. And it taught me to read the script, and it taught me not to be afraid to speak in the language. And so it was a fantastic experience, yeah.
No, but again, learning Hindi and all of that, but then you went and became a chartered accountant. I mean,
so I didn't become a chartered accountant. Let me correct that. I just gave the first exam that you're supposed to give. So that was another story altogether, because my brother was an IIT. And so we were this one big, very happy Parsi family, right? Son is IIT, daughter's going to be a CA. My father had this all planned in his head. And then I said, but I don't want to do my CA. And he was like, but why don't you want to? And I was in BCom already. I topped my Bangalore University in taxation and finance. And that was again another story, which I can tell you later. So I said, I don't want to do my CA. And he was like, but why don't you want to do?
Taxation and finance.
Yeah, because it was a BCom. So there was tax. You had to specialize in something. So I took up income tax. Again, that was because I had a professor who said, Dilshad Miss Master. He used to call me Dilshad Miss Master, Mr. Narsimha Rao. Dilshad Miss Master, you are going to fail this exam. Because I never attended his classes, because I was playing basketball or doing theatre or something. So I just said to him, I said, I take you on. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I'll top the university on this one. Bet lele. So he said, chalo, bet lele. And that's how it started.
Well,
and
but
I
you know
really
what? When
studied
your
hard.
name and your last name is Master, I think you can master
That's
anything,
why he used to
right?
call me Dilshad Miss Master. I always remember that. So, and then when I decided I didn't want to do my CA at all, and my father said, I think you don't want to do it because you're scared you won't pass the exam. In those days, it was really difficult. Even today it is. But that time it was like, nobody ever passed it in their first attempt.
Yeah, CA, I know people are like, kitne attempt mein hua, 4 attempt, 5 attempt. Yeah.
So that was the first, I'm talking only of the first exam, which is, I don't think it's that tough anyway. So my brother then called me he was in IIT Madras. He said, what do you mean you're not giving your CA exam? What are you scared of? I said, I'm not scared. What do you mean I'm scared? Who said I'm scared? So you scared you're going to fail? So I was like, yaar, ye musibat. I said, theek hai, chalo, I will give the darn exam. So I said, I'll give it. And if I pass, can I do what I want to do? So I was told, yeah, sure, you can do what you want to do. So I said, cool. So I gave the exam. I passed it. I said, now can you guys back off? Now I don't want to do my CA. Now back off. In the meantime, I had already applied.
And not only passed, you topped the university.
That was
in the other exam.
That was the BCom exam.
Yeah, but even in CA, first attempt passing is like a...
No, it was just the initial exam. Frankly, I didn't think it was... I don't know why everybody else was making such a big deal about it. Because they were worried that I wasn't going
to... Well, the only other chartered accountant I know...
Uneducated bum.
I said the only other chartered accountant I know who's made it so big in both Hollywood and Bollywood is Shekhar Kapoor. He's the other chartered accountant, right?
That's right, Shekhar. But so then in the meantime, I had already secretly applied to this social communications media course in Bombay, which was apparently so tough to get in that I never expected to.
How do you were like, what, 17, 18 that time?
I was 21.
21,
yeah.
But secretly applying for courses.
Yeah, but that's how we were brought up. My mom and dad treated my brother and I very equally. So we were told to think for yourself, do for yourself. And so I applied and I got in. And I was like, whoa, now I need money to go to Bombay for the oral interviews, right? So then I had to confess. I was like, Dad, Mom, I've applied for this course. They were like, what is it? Then we found out that they said, okay, fine, you can go. So
and
that's
what was
how
this course?
It's a social communications media course. It's the best media course in the country today. It's a 1-year course that just kind of crams in pretty much everything in media together in that 12-month period. It's held by Sophia College in Bombay, and it's excellent. Well, XIC, Xavier's?
Yeah.
This one's way better, in my opinion, because the product you get out of there, it's a sink and swim scenario again.
But so isn't this the only women's college and all that?
Yeah, I think now they've got men and women in that course. Yeah,
okay.
They've got men and women in that course now. And the reputation was that there was like a 20% dropout rate because people just couldn't cope with the pressure of that course. So so even till date, whenever I looked at resumes, if somebody said I've graduated from SCM Sophia College, I was like, just shut your eyes and hire the babe, because there's no, just hire her because she's got to be good. She can't have survived that course and be mediocre. So so I did that. And then I did this, I was hired by BBC to as a assistant to help them with their show called Rough Guides to the World. So I was the translator, the fixer for them for that 1.5 month period. And that was the first time I met Mr. Amir Khan.
That was Amir Khan.
Yeah,
wow.
So I met Amir Khan at that time. And he had just, his biggest hit was...
QSQT. No.
QSQT, yeah, that was
okay, for people who don't know QSQT, it's Qayamat se Qayamat tak.
That's right. And after that, he had done a really super flop movie called Baghi.
Baghi, I remember that, yeah.
So we were walking down at, he was being interviewed by Marjorie, who is this very statisk, 6 feet tall British lady who was wearing these shocking pink shorts and shocking pink bra tops and walking in the middle of hanging gardens interviewing Amir Khan. And then while we were walking down, and I was walking behind them, and there was this little street urchin, real cute little chap, who walked past Amir saying, "Kya bekar picture banaya, Baghi." I still remember that, and Amir Khan was like, see, when I try to make an intelligent movie, this is what happens. So, yeah, that was my first brush with Bollywood, so to speak. But yeah.
So, as a fixer, what were you like? You helped set the interview.
I helped set up the interviews. It was also the first time I met Sachin Tendulkar, by the way. He was 15 years old at that time. And he had just...
This is BBC interviewing all these people.
Yes, this was Rough Guides to the World. Sachin had just done his... that unbelievable partnership with Kamble, that school partnership in that Sharda's school that they were in. And he was just about on the edge of entering the Indian cricket team. He couldn't speak English, he couldn't speak Hindi, he only spoke Marathi. I spoke Gujarati, Hindi, English. I barely spoke Marathi and I was the translator. So you can just imagine the chaos that took place in that interview. So the first ever interview that Sachin gave I have the VHS copy of that even now. And,
wow. Is it on YouTube right now, or
no? I don't think you'll find it. You might be able to find it on YouTube. I'm sure you'll find it.
Or maybe you should digitize it.
I should digitize it. Yeah, I should digitize it. So that was then that was a great experience. I met some very interesting people, and that's how my media career took off.
So let me again just connect it. You went all over India with your parents.
Yes.
Your brother is in IIT. You then do chartered accountancy, but you don't want to really do chartered accountancy. You want to do communication.
Yeah.
And you run away to. So is this like this narrative of the Parsis being a little
crazy?
Cuckoo?
Yeah.
And is it like all adding up here?
Yeah. Totally.
Huh?
I'm not sane. I never meant to be sane. I am a little cuckoo, and I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly all right.
Oh. But again, as I said, this is like the 90s. This is not like, the 2000, the structure, doing all this alone was very difficult at that time.
In fact, I always say this to a lot of my friends. So see, I am now 51 and I have friends whose kids are just flying the coop, right? And I find it amazing that moms are like, they're filling up application forms for US admissions. In my days, my mother had no clue where I was even applying to. We didn't have computers. We had electronic typewriters. I've written my entire statement of purpose on an electronic typewriter, 2-finger typing. And every time there was an error, I had to throw the page off and start all over again. And that's how we applied to the
And now
state.
there are these career counseling courses and people.
And now you have people who advise you and their parents. When moms, my friends tell me, oh God, no, now it's admission time, Dilshad can't meet. I'm like, admission time can't meet, but what is your child doing? Why is she not doing all the admission thing, Oh, but she's got her 12th standard exams. I was like, yeah, but we handled everything.
Because women in media even now is not that big, right? I mean, we talk about, and in the time you were doing all this, I remember the only other woman I knew who was like doing stuff was Karuna. I don't know.
Karuna Samtani.
Yes, she was there. Who else was there during that time?
There were a couple of them in sales. Kanta Advani from Zee, she's still there. There was Shanti in Star TV, who's also still there.
Still with Star TV.
Monica Tata her career was also just about taking off. So she's also big in media now. But you're right. There weren't many. Interestingly, almost 50% of the staff was female. Oh. So yeah. But if you entered the boardroom, there was just 1 or 2 women, and there would be like 12 men. So at the senior echelons, it wasn't. There weren't any women. There weren't then, and I'm not so quite sure there are now either.
So you get into television, you start directing. Then what makes you go and do an MBA? I mean, why the hell do you waste your time? I mean, you could have just continued from there, become a bigger director, started directing movies. You could have done something very different, right?
So, Vishal, one of the things that I think is either the good part of me or the bad part of me, I don't plan. I have no plans. I have no goals. In that sense, कि इतने साल में ये करना है, कि इतने साल में ये. I don't do that.
People need to challenge you that you will fail this exam and then you'll say, okay, I'll become the topper.
No, I don't do that. I don't plan. Everything just seems to happen. I flow like the river, and the river decides to take me where the river wants to take me. And it pretty much happened this way because while I was directing, I remember Sridhar telling me, I also applied. When I applied to the US for the first time in 1990, I applied for a radio television production course. And I remember Sridhar...
Radio show?
Yeah, radio television production. So I remember production and direction. And for my master's. And I remember Sridhar Shisagar telling me at that time, you're wasting your time. Whatever you want to learn about television production, I can teach you. What is the US going to teach you? So go for management. Go, because television is going to be the future. Multi-channel management is going to be the future. So really, he's the one who put it into my head that look for something more than just being behind the camera. So 4 days before I was supposed to leave for the US, I met with an accident. I met with a car accident. So that for the next 2 years, all the plans were wiped out. So you see, what's the point of making plans when there's something else already in store? So it's after those 2 years when I got back on my feet, then I decided, okay, now is the time. So that's when I left for the US in 1992 for my master's in management.
But why not continue direction? Why not, you could...
Because I wanted to call the shots. Directors don't really call the shots. I wanted to be behind.
But I thought directors were really the guys calling the shots.
Not really. I wanted to be the one with the Excel sheets, deciding where the money
the
was
TRP,
going.
That's how we all say, right? That, Balaji is how they run their company, right?
I was always interested in management, and I always wanted a broader perspective of things, and more interested in how and why decisions were made rather than just executing a decision that was made, which is what basically a director would do. So that's why I got into management. That's I thought that was more fun.
But at that age, thinking about all of these things, I mean, how...
So see, I never thought about it. It just happened. I'm telling you seriously. I mean, today I think the youngsters think too much. Yeah. It's one of the quotations that I learned. An ex-Air Force pilot taught me while I was at Nat Geo. He said, "Soch jab gehri ho jaye, तब फैसले कमजोर हो जाते हैं."
Absolutely, yeah.
And अंग्रेजी में बोलते हैं analysis paralysis. But and it's true. I think we pontificate too much and we think too much, and there's something called gut. And what is gut? Gut is nothing but your experience telling you, "Come on, move on, for heaven's sake," and you need to listen to it and just move on.
Yeah. A lot of people overanalyze these scenarios. So you never overanalyze.
No.
You basically saw a door open and you just went through the door.
Yeah. Always. In fact, even while I was all my years at Star, every time there was an opportunity that came up saying, okay, so is there anyone willing to do this? The first hand that would go up would be mine. I would have no clue what was to be done. I would have no clue how I would do it. But my hand would go up, learn something new. So, so I think that
but
helped.
Then why Michigan? Because Michigan is not known. I mean, I thought it's always New York or LA.
There were only three courses. There were only 3 universities in the US that offered multi-channel management that time. One was Penn State, which I couldn't afford, and they didn't give me a scholarship. The other one was the Annenberg School of Communications, UCLA. I think UCLA or USC. And again, they didn't give me a scholarship. Michigan gave me a scholarship. It was as simple as that.
Michigan is like this very cold place.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I've been to Michigan a couple of times and I dread going to that place.
It was awful. The first 2 months, I was so miserable. I used to sit over there and cry. And my brother was in Chicago at that time. He had just graduated from Sunny Buffalo and he was working there. And I remember crying to him, thinking, I don't like this place. And he was like, hey, look, listen to me. So I was like, why? I want to get out of here. And he was like, Dilshad, you're going to be here for the next 1.5 years. If you're smart enough, you'll make it 1.5 years. If you're going to be really slow, it'll be 2 years. So I was like, okay. So he said, you can either decide to enjoy yourself or you can decide to be miserable. Take your pick.
Wow.
So I was
so your brother is like this, this Pitama, right?
Yeah.
He comes
he was like, take your pick. I was like, okay, I think I'll enjoy myself.
And what does he do now? What is your brother up to?
He's one of the foremost CTOs. Chief Net Technical Officers. He was part of Sun Microsystems. He was part of OpenWave in the US. And then he came down to India and started his own startup over here in Pune. And now he's on to so he's basically high-level coding, programming geek.
Wow.
And super smart and one of those niche genius types. And it's really cool.
I mean, Parsis and niche genius and crazy are like these things like Ronnie and I feel like it's amazing how your entire community has dominated this space with all the craziness and all the amazing
I think the
smartness.
craziness is part of it, I think that's part of it, where the ability to take a challenge, the ability not to worry about too much about what's going to happen. I think the craziness
So
comes
did you
from all of that.
intermingle with a lot of other cousins? I know that you have long extended families. No, it's not.
No, never. Didn't have much of a chance. Most of the family was always in Mumbai.
Oh.
So not much. But whenever we did, it was always great fun because they're as crazy as the rest of us. But very little. In fact, the interaction with my cousins is more now, and their children, my nieces, than it was
before.
Back then. Yeah. Yeah.
The Vishal Gondal Show will be right back after this break.
Tired of the shrill madness of primetime television?
Can't make sense of your morning newspaper anymore?
Then take a break to delve into some real conversations about policy, politics and economics.
Join me, Pavan Srinath,
And me, Hamsini Hariharan.
as we analyze news and views from India and the world and talk to experts on a wide range of issues on the Pragati podcast.
Episodes out every fortnight.
You can find us on the IBM Podcasts app or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
So you do all of this, you go to the US to do masters, and then you apply for your Star TV job. Wow. So and then
Yes.
the whole thing comes back and
Yes.
takes you back to Bombay.
I come back to Bombay. Yes.
But again, you could have, as I said, why were you so clear you didn't want to go to the US? I mean, you could have joined Los Angeles, New York. I mean, the media revolution there was
It was
also-
very simple. I wanted to come back and give India the benefit of my education. It was just really as simple as that. And there was nothing patriotic or anything about it. I think there was a surfeit of people in the US, and there was nobody with that knowledge and that skill base in India.
So did you enjoy watching movies a lot? Is that
I used to watch, my goodness, when the film festivals used to start in Bangalore, and on Kempagoda Road, I don't know if you've ever been there, they used to have all those theatres would be full of the film festival. I would watch 9, 10 movies a day. I would just keep hopping from theatre to theatre to theatre. I loved watching the movies. And today I get to see one movie every 4 months. I don't get the time anymore. But I loved the cinema. I loved movies. I watched everything. I watched crap. I watched great stuff. I watched everything. And all languages, Kannada, Tamil, Malayalam.
And you understood all these languages?
No, not really. But if it's a good movie, you don't need to understand. You get the gist of what's happening. I mean, watching Mammootty in action is just, he's Mammootty, Watching Kamala Hassan do a Tamil version of Nayakan is way better than watching Vinod Khanna do it in Hindi. So you didn't need to. In those days, there were no subtitling either.
So Zee Cinema took you to then National Geographic.
No, Zee Cinema then took me to Star Plus.
Star Plus, okay.
Because
brilliant stars.
1994 was when Star Plus decided that it was going to be less of Bold and Beautiful and
Santa Barbara
and all of that stuff, and they were going to bring in Hindi content.
Ooh.
And
I remember that time, yeah.
And that time there was because of the partnership with Zee. Star was...
there was some kind of non-compete,
yeah,
right?
there was a non-compete clause, and Star could not bring in Hindi content. So what they did instead was they decided to dub Baywatch and Santa Barbara
I
and
remember those
Bold and
terrible
Beautiful
days.
Hindi.
And the Hindi was so bad.
Oh,
that the
guess
dubbing...
who was in charge of that? Moi.
Oh, God.
And I used to cringe every time. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? But then we started this one half-hour band of Hindi shows. There was Saaz by Neena Gupta, one of the iconic shows. There was Kora Kagas by Asha Parekh. And so we started that, slowly edging ourselves in, trying to stretch the
But I think
contract.
the worst period of Indian cinema or television was these dub shows,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, well, you know what? I used to get these, for Baywatch, for instance, there was this S&P department in Star TV, which is standards and practices. So any kind of content that was, religious intolerance or political, sort of kind of messy, or most importantly, sexual
Yeah, in Baywatch,
content.
yeah.
So they would make us cut all that out. So every morning, and Baywatch at that time, we were playing it in Hindi. It was a strip at 10 o'clock in the night, right? Monday to Friday. So every Monday, I would come on my desk and I'd find S&P reports like 1 foot high sitting on my desk. And I'm just staring at it going, oh my God, do I have to sign off on it? And if I didn't sign off on it, it meant that they would edit it. So a 42-minute episode would become like 32 minutes or something like that if you start editing Baywatch. So I would keep staring, and then I would start opening. I would open the first sheet, nipples under swimsuit, nipples under, and with TCR code in, TCR code out, nipples under swimsuit. And there was like this reams of paper that just said nipples under swimsuit. And I'm like, are you serious? Am I really going to? I was like, overridden.
This is Baywatch.
I was like, forget it, guys, grow up. No, we can't do it. I was like, you know what? This whole show is just going to be nothing if you start editing it down. Forget it. So he said, no, maybe we'll mosaic it. I was like, can we just imagine 2 little mosaics? I was like, that's way worse. Don't be silly. So yeah, that's how we went through those very painful 1 year. So I would just override all their objections, and then I would have the S&P head walk in. You can't do this. And I was like, you can't do this. I said, forget it. Let's just move on with life. But nothing happened. I don't think anybody minded. I'm sure nobody
and you
did.
won't believe, this is around the same time Sony had launched their channel,
Yes,
Sony
yes,
Entertainment
yes,
Television.
in 94.
With
That's
Jackie
right.
Shroff and all those,
That's
there's
right.
6-7 partners.
That's right.
And I used to run a computer games and animation company. So
Wow.
what used to happen is that they used to come to me to make animation, like opening titles for shows. So I had made like titles for a number of those TV shows, but
Okay.
mostly on Sony, not on Star.
Right.
And I had a very different peek into this world of television because
right.
I was doing CG. And that time CG, you know how
Yeah,
much
it was
we
great.
used to charge like 10,000 rupees a second.
Yes.
So it was like
Yes,
per
yes,
second
yes.
animation. Like I have like charged people some 2-3 lakhs.
Just for a 20-second animation sequence.
No, but it was also the world. I mean, unfortunately, and I don't know what your view on this is, television, the business was so bad. I remember people not paying. I mean, getting your money getting stuck. There was, I will not name this, I'll tell you some off camera the name of this guy. He runs a huge channel even now. I do this like big, there was a big TV show he was running. I do this whole thing. He pays me for the first time. Then I do a lot of stuff. Then I deliver this animation to him. And then he tells me, mere pe case kar do,
Wow.
He doesn't pay. And I still remember that this guy owes me a few lakhs from 1994 types. And his answer was, yeah, mujh pe case kar do. Matlab, like, I think this whole unprofessionalism, I think now to a large extent it is gone. But did you face a lot of this?
Oh, yeah. There was an instance in Zee Cinema which I remember so vividly. I was, again, 2 months off, fresh from the boat, so to speak. And there's this guy who walks in. He was in a white dhoti kurta and hands me an envelope. He walks in, knocks on the door. He says, "Aap Dilshad ho?" मैं कहा, हाँ. He said, "अच्छा, औरत हो आप?" मैं कहा, हाँ. So he says, अच्छा नहीं, मैं तो सोचा था कि कोई gentleman होगा. मैं को नहीं, it's me. So he gives me this envelope, white envelope. And I said, ये क्या है? रख लो, आपका है. रख लो. So I said, क्या है? So then he was just about to turn and walk off. So I called security. I said, उसको बाहर नहीं जाने देना अभी. I opened the envelope in front of, I had my team sitting in front of me. Opened the envelope. There was 10,000 rupees inside. So I said, ये किसके लिए? आपका शेयर है. आपका कट, वो लाइटें मंगाई थी ना. So I just stared at him going, एक तो लाइटें मैंने मंगाई नहीं. एक, I wouldn't even know who to call to get the lights. One of my team would have done it. Why is the money coming to me? And why is the money coming at all? And then one of the guys who was with me in production, he said, Dilshad, I'll handle it. Don't worry. He took the money. He gave it back. And then I said to that man, I said, ये office में ना कदम कभी मत रखना वापस. कभी भी नहीं. And I said, whoever is hiring lights from this guy, stop hiring right now. Right now. And that was the end of it. So, yeah, it used to happen. And I found it extremely unfair that a television channel would say, oh, we'll pay you 45 days after telecast. So that meant that...
After telecast?
Yeah.
I mean,
Which basically meant that you were... only people with deep pockets could enter the business. So the real creative types who didn't have the money but had great talent could not enter the business because who has the money to fund an entire, production?
At that time it was like 2-3 lakhs per episode or more actually.
So I said, I found that extremely unfair. I tried to make changes as much as I could while I was heading programming and ops for Star TV. And to a large extent we did. And I had...
Did Star TV do any game shows? Because I remember that time game shows were like a big thing with Zee TV doing Antakshari and all of that.
Star
right?
used to do this, God, I can't remember what it's called now. There were a lot of game shows. We did game shows, we did...
So I used to do all the graphics and animation for Antakshari.
That was for Zee.
For Zee.
Okay.
There was there is Gajendra Singh. I don't know if you ever did
Yes, of course
with
I know
Gaj,
Gajendra Singh. Yeah,
So
he was like the
the rock star,
the rock
right?
star
Yeah,
of
like-
reality television at that
I
time.
mean, he literally actually started that Saregama. and-
Saregama, he was Antakshari. Those were the two key shows that he did.
Yeah, the flagship for Zee for several years, yeah.
They also gave him the competition to Kaun Banega Crorepati. What was it
Oh,
called?
by the way, guess.
It was so badly done.
I know. It was called Sawal 10 Crore.
Sawal 10 Crore Ka. That's right. Yeah.
I did the entire programming. So they came to me.
Okay.
And they said, here is KBC and you have to do the entire game programming. So I programmed that show. It was a disaster.
And
So
it was Anupam Kher, I think.
Kher,
It was so
Anupam
terrible.
Kher. I mean, actually, it was that whole thing was designed for disaster,
Yeah,
right?
it
Because
was.
it's like, you can't compete with KBC.
No, you can't. You should not be trying to mimic something that's already a hit. In
And
any
then they
case.
got Manoj Vajpayee after that.
Yes,
First
yes.
they got Anupam Kher.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
anyway,
it was terrible.
So
It was
those
terrible.
were the cowboy days of television, right?
Those
Everything
were
was.
I remember even with KBC, I for one personally, and I have no qualms in saying this, I thought Mr. Bachchan would be a disaster. I seriously thought, I remember when Samir Nair, he took this decision. I told Samir, Samir, for heaven's sake, Bachchan. He said, trust me. I said, are you serious? That time he was the Lal Badshah days. He was really on the low
It was
end.
on his low. It was on the lowest point.
Yeah.
And it was
I was never a great Bachchan fan personally to begin with. So
I think the narrative was Amitabh के इतने बुरे दिन आ गए हैं कि अभी वो TV show कर रहा है. Yeah, it was that is how the television was perceived for Bollywood especially.
And with absolute credit to the gentleman, because he really worked hard. We used to watch him come in, practice, for months together. He has practiced before that first episode went to air, or even when he went on the floor. And so that is something that gave us all a great learning experience, that he's not treating this like he's not treating it like it's TV and I shouldn't be doing it. He's giving it his 100% and
but that's
more.
I consistently hear this from everybody who has worked with him, that this man is like punctual, does rehearsals, turns up for every session. It's nothing
He's
like
amazing.
I don't want to rehearse. He would do.
So
every
I have a
rehearsal.
story of Mr. Bachchan. Can I tell you my story of Mr. Bachchan? So we were in the UK. I was launching Star Plus and Star News in the UK. I had planted myself there for 4 months. And then came the day when we were unveiling the 2 channels on the B-Sky-B platform. And so in coordination with Samir, Samir said, he said, what do you want? I said, just get me some stars here, man. I need some stars, I mean, if I want to get written about in the press, blah, 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 marketing, just get the whole circus over here. So he actually did that, starting with Mr. Bachchan.
Okay.
All right. So there was Mr. Bachchan, there was Neena Gupta, there was a lot of people who came in, descended into London.
Star Parivar.
Star Parivar. Pura Star Parivar came over. And I was at rehearsals for the show. Inauguration of the show. So I left a message. This was at St. James Court. I left a message at the St. James Court reception saying that Mr. Amitabh Bachchan will be arriving, and please just show him to his suite, and everything is set up over there. Don't ask him any questions. Just show him to his room. And the mistake I made was I didn't leave anybody behind to accompany him. A big mistake. So I get over there and I get a call from Rose, who is Mr. Bachchan's secretary at that time. And she says, Dilshad. So I said, yes, Rose, where are you? I'm in Bombay. I said, okay. Where's Mr. Bachchan? Because I almost got a heart attack. She says, he's at the reception of St. James Court and they are asking him for an ID. I just started sweating buckets. I was like, oh my God. So I just dropped everything and I ran. But in the meantime, I started calling people and they said, no, don't worry. We've taken care of it. Finally, Mr. Bachchan was shown to his room. I came to the reception and I was livid. I was just livid. I said, I left word. I left instructions. Why were they not followed? The problem was that half the staff there was all Latino.
Yeah, who didn't know who Amitabh Bachchan
They didn't know who Mr. Bachchan was. Now, as luck would have it, as I was ranting and raving and walking out the hotel, who walks in but Mr. Krishna Kumar, who was, that time it was the Taj Hotel, right? Yeah. And he was like the head honcho there. So, and I know Mr. Krishna Kumar because he was my dad's boss. So I said, oh, hello, sir, how are you? And he said, oh, Dilshad, how are you? Hug, kiss, kiss. How are you doing? What are you doing? So I said, listen, you're the boss here. I got to tell you what happened. And I cannot have, I've got stars pouring in. I cannot have this happening again. So he said, tell me what happened. So I told him. So he said, don't worry. And then I come down from my room in about 2 hours and I see that the
entire
entire staff has changed and they're all Indian. They're all Indian. Not a single Firangi face inside. And I'm like, yes, thank God. At least they'll recognize people when they walk in now. So that was, thank you, Mr. Krishna Kumar, for that. I never got a chance to thank him. So with Mr. Bachchan, I get this phone call at about midnight after I come back saying, Miss Master, I said, yes, Mr. Bachchan, there's a bottle of wine in my minibar. So I said, yes, Mr. Bachchan. And I'm thinking, does he want a corkscrew to open it or what?
I don't drink.
I don't drink. So I was like, okay, you want me to take the bottle out? So he says, yes, if you would, please. So I said, you have a butler there, right? So he says, yes. I said, can you give him the bottle and tell him to bring it to my room? Because I could really do with a glass of wine right now. So he started laughing. He said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So he was a great guy. He was an interesting personality to have. The show was going on. He was surrounded by these 6 bouncers, really huge guys, all 6 feet 4 inch tall, ex-basketball players. And there was Mr. Bachchan in the middle, totally unfazed by this adulation that was going on around him. It was just amazing to watch from the sidelines how this man would not react to anything happening around him. And there was this surge of crowd wanting to touch him. And he's staring at the stage and just watching the proceedings like as if he's sitting in a little garden with complete silence around him. So it was amazing, yeah. Mr. Bachchan was quite a fascinating
So then
person.
Star Plus to NGC, which is like completely different.
So that was the hands up again.
They said, we're launching National Geographic in India.
No, National Geographic had launched already in 2000. And I actually resigned from Star in 2000. In 2002, I quit Star. I said enough is enough. Bas bahut ho gaya. And then Zubin called me up, Zubin Gandevia, who was the managing director for National Geographic. And he said, so I always say he conned me into television again, because Zubin said, just come now, my marketing person has quit, so come and take care of marketing for some time. So I said, sometime, he's a consultant, come for 3 months. 3 months, I stayed for 4.5 years. But I took over marketing, then I took over the programming. And that was great fun. Natio was an extremely fantastic experience. It was the first time that any channel across the 144 countries had attempted to do an Indian show, an Indian reality show on National Geographic television. So,
and which was the show?
That was Mission Everest.
Oh.
So that was born out of an idea when I was sitting with my with Colonel Bull Kumar. Mm-hmm. We were both having beer at Delhi Gymkhana, and he says, "क्या फायदा तुम्हारा नाट्य में रहने का क्या फायदा? हमारे बच्चों के लिए कुछ my army is going to Everest. What are you doing about it?" So I said, "What do you want me to do about your army going to the Everest?" I said, "Will your army take 5 ordinary people with them?" So he said, "हाँ क्यों नहीं?" So that's how the whole concept started.
Wow!
And so we had this entire reality selections and we turned it into an 8 episode series.
So basically, this is summiting Everest. This is not Everest.
No. It was for the 5 people. It was Everest Base Camp. Okay. For the Indian Army, it was summiting. But for 5 people,
and
it was
NGC captured the entire journey.
We captured the entire journey of these 5. Yeah, so it was the first time ever that we had
otherwise
ever done.
NGC was just getting foreign shows in India, right? There was no other.
So I remember very clearly. Washington, where entire content of Natio would be, made and created, calling up Zubin and saying, nobody's ever done this. And oh, by the way, we came up with the idea in October and we had to execute by February because we had a timeline. The army was leaving in February,
And,
I couldn't tell the army, hey, hello, can you just delay it by 1 month, So it was November, December, Jan, Feb. We had exactly 4 months for the show to go on air, literally, or to at least start shooting. And so we had to have the selection process happening in December so that the people would be ready to join the army by February. So we literally had 3 months to put the show on the road. And I remember the Washington guys calling up Zubin and saying, it's never been done. How can you do it? It takes 3 months to conceptualize a show and it takes another 1 year to shoot it. How are you going to do it? And so Zubin called me in and he says, are you sure? Are you confident about this? I said, ho jayega. So he says, you're sure we can do it in 3 months? I said, are you giving me a choice? So he says, no, I'm not giving you a choice. I said, then it'll get done. Don't let me down. Dilshad, don't let me down. I said, trust me, we'll do it. And we did it. We did it in 3 months. 4 months we were up on air. In 3 months we had already shot the selections. And I think the entire Nat Geo community was in a state of shock for the first couple of weeks, but they came around to the fact that India can.
And now there
spin
are so
anything.
many shows which both Discovery and Nat Geo are doing specially
Yeah, so
for
that was
India,
the
right?
beginning of it. Then we did Mission Udan, which was with the Indian Air Force, where we took 5 people inside the Indian Air Force, and one person got to fly a Sukhoi. As the final prize.
Wow.
So that was a great experience, because the Indian Air Force just put up a grand show with their Jaguars and their Sukhois and their MiGs, and amazing experience.
No, I remember seeing this show.
Yeah.
This had a lot of publicity everywhere, I guess.
Yeah, that was my my best moment. After that, I quit Nat Geo. My father fell seriously ill, and I told Zubin, I said, he doesn't have much time left, so I'm going to quit, because otherwise I'm going to regret it. So I quit, and he let me go, thankfully. And I spent some time with him, and then he passed away. Then I came back.
And how did Ronnie then con you into?
So Ronnie,
into
yeah,
this?
again, I think
mean,
Ronnie conned me, right? I again say that Ronnie, both these Parsi Babas have conned me. So Ronnie conned me how? Because so at that time, while I had quit TV, my brother made this one very off remark in a casual conversation saying, "What do you know? You're a digital bimbet." So I took immediate offense to that. I said, "What the hell do you mean by a digital bimbet?" He said, "What do you know? Do you know even?" And in those days, I'm talking about 2007, 2008. He says, "Do you even know what?" No, 2005. Sorry. He says, "Do you know what a widget is?" I said, "No." He says, "Do you know what an app is?" I said, "No."
HTML.
So he says, "Do you know anything about coding? Do you know what CSS stands for?" No. And then something else. And he says, "You're an absolute digital bimbet." And he just walks away. And I'm like, So I said, okay, time to learn. So I take bag and baggage, and I tell my husband Akshay, I was like, babes, do without me for a few months. I go and plant myself in Pune with his team of all IIT,
Techies,
Kanpur, IIT, this, that. And I start asking the most stupid questions. I said, you called me digital bimbet, now you teach me. So I learned from the best of the best in that entire crowd. Some of them were great teachers. They still teach me so much about the tech part of the world when I'm missing out on something. But that's how I got into the digital space. Then for 3 years, I did digital marketing because I got so good at it. And I realized, hey, you know what? Television knows nothing about the digital space. So let me do digital marketing for them. So that's how I did that for 3 years.
So which channels you were like?
I did it for Nat Geo, I did it for History Channel, I did it for Star Plus, Star World. And therefore I approached Ronnie saying, I know you're launching these channels, so let's talk about a digital strategy for your channels. So Ronnie and Zarina were in the room, and Ronnie looks at me and saying, yeah, that's all very well. Why don't you just join us? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do TV. He's like, do it for 2 years. Do it for 2 years. I was like, but I don't want to do TV. Let's talk digital. And I said, every time I said, let's talk digital. Yeah, we'll do that. Why don't you just join us? And so that's how it started. And then, of course, he sicked his goons onto me to follow up. And that's how I joined.
And how did you know Ronnie before?
I knew Zarina. I didn't know Ronnie that
because
well.
They were producing
because they were
show.
producing shows for Star Plus. So that's how I had that connect. And so that's how I... and then, of course, the little carrot that was dangled in front of me was world movies. It was one genre I hadn't done. I had done entertainment. I had done news. I launched Star News with NDTV in 1997.
This is with the whole Barkha
with Pranoy and Radhika Roy and yeah.
And 1998 was the whole Kargil.
Exactly. So I was there, bang in the middle of all that. So I did news, I did entertainment, I did infotainment. I had never done world movies. I had done a Hindi movie channel, but I had never done a world movie. So to me, that was what
You're
captured
like the
my
encyclopedia of Indian television.
Yeah. So that's when I said, all right, fine, I'll do it for 2 years. No more than that. Just 2 years. And he was like, yeah.
And during all this while, when did you get married? How did you meet Akshay? Huh?
So I was his client, actually. I met Akshay's brother, and I have been in college together, and we were a group of 7 of us who are thick even today. So I always heard about him, but I had never met him.
Akshay's cousin or his
cousin, yeah. And then I came to Delhi for one of the boys in the group was getting married, and so we all descended to Delhi, and then Salil, that's Akshay's brother, said, why don't we all go to the river? So we said, let's all go to the river. And that's where I met Akshay. So he was a rafting guide. And of
Because
course,
he has nothing to do with media, nothing to do with technology, nothing to do with television.
nothing. So, see now, again, this is where I say that I don't plan anything. If I had not met this man, and if I had not seen a world that you only saw on television or in those coffee table books, I wouldn't be where I am today. In my head, I would never be able to visualize myself being in the mountains or rafting on the Ganga River or rafting on the Zanskar or trekking. I could not imagine that. To me, that was part of coffee table books.
He's based in Delhi and you were based in Bombay.
Yeah, so I used to fly down every couple of months to meet him. In fact, I brought 2 or 3 Star TV groups for offsites at the camp. So his biggest grouse always was the moment I married this woman, the Star TV group stopped.
No conflict of interest.
No conflict of interest. I said, we go anywhere, but we don't go with Akshay. So I remember even Zubin saying, okay, so when are we going rafting? I said, no, we're not going to go rafting with Akshay. He says, listen, we are going rafting with Akshay. I said, well, I'm not going to negotiate. He said, don't negotiate. You get out. You stay out of the picture. Somebody else will negotiate. But you can't stop us from going where we want to go. So Akshay always used to say, he says, yaar, I used to get these great goodies from Nat Geo. Bag milta tha, topi milti thi, jacket. Sab kuch band ho gaya after this woman joined.
And so you did a show where he's kind of helped
Yes,
you.
I did.
Which show was this?
It was called Adventure Diaries. It was a 26-part series of 4 minutes each, where we got a call from Washington saying there's this American adventurer, Nat Geo adventurer, Stephen Backshall, who is coming to India and he needs an Indian partner to do this adventure stuff. And he's coming in next week. And I'm going, next week? Where am I going to find an Indian partner? So there he was right in front of me. I said, Akshay, you want to go on camera? So he said, yeah, sure. So the two of them together did this show called Adventure Diaries India. And then Akshay's company helped with the entire logistics of Mission Everest, of ensuring that the kids were safe on the trek, etc., etc. So all of that was handled by his company.
Wow. That's quite a variety of things, right?
Yeah.
And then when did you move out of UTV? What happened there?
So UTV, we all actually know what happened. The bust happened in 2008. Yeah. Everybody knows that. And the only reason why we had this office in Delhi was because I was based in Delhi. And I refused to move to Bombay. And so I think when this bust happened, one of the main things that Ronnie had to do was, consolidate. And as part of the consolidation, we decided that the whole office would move from Delhi to Bombay. And in that process, heart-wrenching process, we had to let 65 people go. We gave everybody a choice of moving to Bombay. I quit because I was like, I'm not moving, but I will help you in this transition because I see that as my responsibility, because each one of those 70 people on that team were hired by me. So it was one of the most painful things I have ever done, and I would never want to do it again. To tell somebody, like, you don't have a job. And it was a fight with Ronnie as well, because he said, no, as per the contract, it's 1 month's pay. And I said, no, nothing doing. You will give a minimum of 3 months. You will, because it's a tough market right now. People are sacking. They're not going to find jobs. These are homes you're breaking up. And Ronnie is a businessman at the end of the day. And he was like, no, but the contract says 1 month. I said, I don't care what your contract says. I don't care. And there was a slanging match in the Bombay office.
Ronnie will finally do what the contract says.
Well, he agreed on 2 months, finally,
okay.
after a lot of fighting. And I just planted myself in the office and I'm not moving from here. And he was like, I think the discussion is over. I said, no, you may think it's over. I don't think it's over. And I just sat over there and I didn't move.
But Ronnie has this amazing ability to kind of, balance, he's like started businesses, stopped businesses.
Yeah.
He's like such an amazing character.
I've learned a lot from him. I learned,
he's
like
my
I said,
guru too,
he's
yeah.
my guru too. Like I said, in those 18 months were just the most amazing 18 months of my television career, because I finally felt like, oh my God, I'm learning so much new stuff. One of the key things that he taught me was, I remember fighting with him. I was always fighting with Ronnie. Every time I walked in, he would just have this look on his face like, now what, And I remember one battle I had where I said, but Ronnie, you can't do this. This is, I think we're talking about one of the channels. And I said, but this is my baby. It's my baby. You can't do this. And he just stared at me and he said, Dilshad, if there's one thing you need to learn, is not to be emotionally attached to your business. Do not be emotionally attached. Otherwise, you will always have a problem. And I remember that so clearly, and I have never forgotten it. Never. And it's a great lesson learned. A great lesson learned. And I practice that now in that I have my own business. I practice it. But he taught me a lot. So, you present to Ronnie. I'm sure you've done that too, right? You present to Ronnie and there's this Excel sheet on the columns. The columns go into A, B, B, A, P, A, Z. They just go on endlessly. And I remember sitting in this conference room and clicking and looking at that last column on the right and going, oh shit, that figure is wrong. And I quickly tried to move away. And he was like, wait a minute, will you just stop right there? I was like, Ronnie, I know it's wrong. I'll take it. What is that? Can you just expand on that? Can you increase the view? I want to see. And I'm like, oh God, there one single cell where the number is wrong. He's got it.
So I know the secret of Ronnie and how he does it, by the way.
How does he do it?
So I asked him this question in my show, and he kind of gave a very interesting. He calls it fine-tuning common sense.
Yes.
So he's like, what he does is fine-tuning common sense, and I think that is such an art, and
I think when he says fine-tuning common sense, I think what he means is he already knows what the end picture is. Yeah. He's just trying to see how that process of getting there is accurate or not.
I'm sometimes not sure whether Ronnie is a good investment banker, lawyer.
He's everything.
He's everything, right?
He's
he's done it all. He's done it all.
He's amazing. It truly is. I remember another incident sitting in that massive conference room and we were talking about Jodha Akbar had just been launched. It was a huge super hit. And then we were so there was the other fight was that Zee TV was bidding for Jodha Akbar and they were willing to give some
because
X
UTV
crores,
movies had to make money with.
So I said, but you can't give it to UTV. He said, why can't I give it to you? It has to be a hands-off deal. I said, on the one hand, you talk about hands-off deal. On the other hand, you talk about synergy. I said, where the hell is your synergy now? UTV movies needs to launch with a movie like Jodha Akbar. I said, how can you give... You're asking me to give away 20 crores. I said, yes, I am asking you to give away 20 crores. Yeah. Let's talk about it. So that's how we got Jodha Akbar, right? After a lot of battles. And there we are in the conference room and Ronnie says, okay, can I see the marketing plan? And we show him the marketing plan and he looks at it and I don't like these hoardings. And then I remember that a long time back, he used to design his own hoardings for their movies in the initial days of UTV motion pictures. And I stared at him and he says, can I have a paper? He takes a blank sheet of paper and there's my head of marketing. And all of us are sitting over there and watching. What is Ronnie doing? He takes a sheet of paper, he turns it into the 4:3 aspect ratio and he starts drawing the hoarding on the table. He says, this is how it needs to look. So this is Hrithik Roshan. This is Aishwarya here. This is where the logo comes. And I just couldn't stop. So I put my hand right there on top of the paper and I said, stop. And he was like, what? I was like, stop. You pay me a lot of money to do this. You're paying a lot of money to all of us here to take these decisions. Stop. You don't like what's been given to you? We'll do it again. But don't start sketching a hoarding here, please. So that's how we... That was Ronnie. He's great.
But he's very passionate and also
Extremely.
very dispassionate at the same time.
Exactly.
Right?
That's an amazing combination to have. That he's extremely passionate about what he does and he can let go.
I think the best decision of probably his life and even my life was to sell at the right time to Disney, because people who didn't sell, we all know what's happened to all the other media companies today, right?
Exactly.
I think Ronnie sold at a high.
So when Ronnie sold, those words came back to me. Don't ever be emotionally attached to your business, because everybody said, but how is he going to sell? How would he sell UTV motion pictures? That's his baby. But I think it's the right decision at the right time.
Mm-hmm. The Vishal Gondal Show will be right back after this break.
Shunyavan, 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 Shunyavan.
$1 billion acquisition. Another copycat startup got formed.
No, the tech world in India is surely moving double the speed of this voiceover.
Tune in to Shunya One every Tuesday to catch us talking to the smartest people we know on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
So Dilshad, you had this amazing career, right? I mean, television, movies, all of that. And then, you went through this UTV thing. And at what point of time you decided that, okay, now I'm done with television and going to do something else?
In 2012,
Okay.
when I had my cancer.
Ooh. And this was right after UTV, or?
This was 4 years after UTV.
And what were you doing for those 4
I was
years?
doing the digital marketing and that stuff at that time. And I had a little baby at that time. So I was a little out of backing off from work. And then when she was 9 months old, I was diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
So that's the time I decided
And
that
that must
I
be
had
one
to-
of the toughest days of your life, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, actually. I had a very serious car accident, which I think was way tougher for me because it took me 2 years to recover from that. But yes, it was tough because I always thought I was super fit and super healthy. And, I could swim 36 laps of a full swimming pool and a 50-meter pool. And I couldn't believe I had the cancer. I just couldn't. I refused to believe it for the longest time. And, it was... but I think I jumped back really quickly in the sense that I didn't let it pull me down or make me sad or any of that. It was just... And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that even when I had my accident, I so clearly remember my mom and dad saying, okay, fine, so you've crashed up and we've got a series of surgeries to go through, let's move on. Mm-hmm. There was never any, oh, my poor little baby, oh...
But having an accident is, different, right? Okay, you break a few bones here and there.
Yeah.
But, having cancer is a very
well,
different
it was,
diagnostics, right?
I think there was a lot... I had a great husband who didn't make a big deal out of it. I had a 9-month-old baby whom I had to get back to really quickly. And I had a great mom who just sailed in, with her operational powers that be and organized everything in the house. And it was... I think I bounced back pretty fast. I had some bad experiences in the beginning. I didn't go to the right doctors. I didn't go to the right hospital. And again, like flow with the tide kind of thing, I didn't do my research, which was all big mistakes that I made in retrospect. And once I got to Tata Memorial, then I knew I was safe and I was home. And after that, I've just...
No, but not everybody can get to Tata Memorial, right? An average person, would go to a nearest hospital or some
which is
big
what
hospital.
Which is what I did. I went to Apollo Hospital where the surgery was incomplete in several different ways. And they didn't find my sentinel lymph node, which is the lymph node that tells you whether the cancer has progressed through the body. And so once they take the tumor out, you can't identify which lymph node is the sentinel lymph node any longer. And so when I went to Tata Memorial with the sheets of operational procedures, the first thing the doctors there said was, he says, I'm so sorry, but I have to take you right in because your surgery is incomplete. And I said, so what are you going to do now? He says, well, if you were 60, I would have said just remove all the lymph nodes. But since you're so young, we'll do what we term as a lymph node biopsy, which means we'll take out 3 to 4 lymph nodes from in and around that area and we'll test them. And if they're clear, we'll just close you up. If they're not clear, then we'll open it all up. So within 3 weeks, I was back in surgery. And it was... So I said, so what are my chances of the cancer reoccurring? He says, well, let's say 2%. But then that's the chance in any case.
2%
so
is
that's
for
the chance in any case. So I was like, okay, fine, then let's go with it. Let's just do it.
And that was how long did the whole recovery process? And
then I had radiotherapy for 30 sessions. That was about 6 weeks.
30 sessions,
Yeah.
wow.
But fortunately, I didn't have to do any chemo because the kind of cancer I had did not require chemo.
So what is it called? Sorry, it's called
It was breast cancer. It was tubular carcinoma.
Okay.
And the Apollo Hospital had said 6 sessions of chemotherapy, which Tata Memorial said absolutely not necessary. And I think this was March 2012. I was done by October 2012.
Yeah.
And then it took me a year to recover from that. I'd lost almost 12 kilos. I was down to 49 kilos, which I've never
49
been
kgs,
in
wow.
my life. But yeah, I bounced back pretty fast.
But I think, and especially now that, you are hearing so many cancer diagnostics
Yeah.
in the country, how does anybody figure this out, right? I mean, Apollo and all these hospitals are supposed to be good at what they're doing.
I came to one very simple conclusion after the entire experience that the only place that you should be treating cancer in India is Tara Memorial or AIMS in Delhi. All these other private hospitals, if a doctor there sees 50 patients a week, Tara sees 500 a day. All right. And that's the level of experience that you're talking about. So, and I feel that a lot of people just do, it's a hit and miss, trial and
Carpet bombing.
error.
They're
Yeah,
carpet
carpet
bombing.
bombing approach, which I think is what it just kills you as a patient. It just kills you. So the main thing now for me is just to keep healthy, stay healthy. I was always into fitness, but I always loved good food. So food was
Parsi,
I know I loved food. So today I curtail it. I eat much lesser quantities. I look at that bacon and that sausage and I salivate and then I say, oh, what the hell? I can have one. So I have one. I'm not going to deny myself that, but I stay healthy. And thanks to this, the Goki.
Oh yeah, you are among the earliest users of Goki, right? Yeah.
Goki fan. It's my conscience. It really is my conscience. So last 3 or 4 days I haven't gone out for a run because of the weather, and it keeps reminding me when I see that blank 0% that I haven't done any steps besides just walking to office and back. So I think cancer was an awakening, and it was something that was in the family. Like Dr. Badwe, who's the head of Tata Memorial, when he saw my sheet, he looked at it and he said, so which part of family history did you not understand? So I immediately fell in love with him. I said, this guy with this dark sense of humor. And so I've had it from all sides. I was like packed in from every direction with cancer.
So basically, you do think genetics play a big role in this?
I would say, at least for me, yes. For me, yes, because I had it from my mom's side and from my dad's side. My grandmother, my Masi, my aunt, from my dad's sister, my mom's sister. So,
because if you talk to Luke, I mean, Luke has a very different view on this,
yes,
and
yes, he
his
does.
whole thing about that everybody has good genes and bad genes. It's how these genes get triggered.
So I saw Luke's video the other day, which I found so fascinating, where he talked about the study that they had done and discovered the 4 common things that every cancer patient seems to have, and if I remember them was lack of sleep. Which I clearly had. Constipation, acidity, and there was one more. A great emotional distress. Yeah, and my father had passed away. And so I was like, wow. It couldn't have...
I was discussing this with Luke, and he said that the minute he meets a cancer patient, he can tell that they've had a divorce or a bad marriage. I mean, or he has like 20 things which he says, now I'm like just figuring out all these things in common.
Yeah, it was amazing. When I saw that video a couple of weeks back, I wrote to Luke and I said to him, wow, I wish I'd known this earlier. I really wish I had known this earlier. And it's like a checkbox. I had all 4.
Yeah. But since, your recovery from cancer, you have like bounced back and what, right? You are going to Everest and now you are like all into trekking.
Yeah, so see, again, it's the same thing. Like, see, no planning, no goal. I just wake up one morning and I say, I'm going to Everest Base Camp. And so I literally wake up and I...
And this is post your surgery?
This is post-surgery. This was in... This would have been about a year after, so October 2013. And I wake up. I'm sorry, I have a head for numbers and figures, so I remember the dates as well.
CA and
so,
the MBA
so
and
October
everything combined.
2013, I think it was 22nd of October, I wake up and I say, I'm going to Everest Base Camp. And actually, they just shut up and go back to sleep. I was like, no, I'm going to Everest Base Camp. And it was always my desire to do
And you never
that.
felt this before, right? You were married for a long time when Akshay used to go and you were like, okay.
No. I always thought, I said, why do people trek? I mean, it's such a useless thing to do. Why the hell would you just keep walking? What's the destination? And everybody always, why do you need a destination? It's the experience. I was like, how boring can it possibly be? Ki din bar din chalte jao. And so that was me. The only trek I had ever done before that was as part of Adventure Diaries in Nat Geo when I had gone to Gormukh and Gangotri, which was a very chota-mota 4-day trek. And that was when I was 40. Here at 45, post-cancer, I want to go to Everest Base Camp. And so Akshay, of course, said, go back to sleep. I was like, no, I'm going to Everest Base Camp. So I decided that I couldn't go alone. So I put this team together. So I called up my friends. You're coming? Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming? I conned a lot of people in saying, yeah, let's go to Everest Base Camp. And then I started training. And then that was October. And then in March of 2014, we were leaving on May 14th, 2014. In March, I was having my consultation with my onco. And he said to me that, the medication that you're on has a 0.2% chance of contracting uterine cancer. But it's nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
I just wanted to let you know.
0.2%.
And I'm like, hang on. Rewind. I'm not taking that chance. So he says, no, but Dilshad, what do you... I said, I would rather elect for a surgery. I'm not taking that chance. I said, my daughter's 3.5. I can't take, not even a 0.2% chance. So much against his wishes. Again, the best doctors I found, they all come into my life when I need them. This is another big story of how I found Dr. Varthi. And she did my surgery, and I told her, I said, I'm going to Everest Base Camp on May 14th. You have to get me back on my feet by April 1st. And it was March 12th. So she said, okay, if you are a good girl and you listen to me, I'll do that. And then that's what happened. I went in for surgery. Came back, I was flat on my back for about 3 weeks, and then I started walking again. And I would walk 20 meters and I would just collapse. I would walk another 20 meters and I would collapse. I had absolutely no stamina. I was down back to zero again.
Wow.
And Akshay would walk with me and he would stand over there and go, what? And I would start whining, I can't do it, I'm crazy, I can't do it. Why don't you stop me? I can't do it. And then he would just, stop whining, get up. Stop crying. Stop whining. Get up. Walk. And so that's a great learning. Stop whining. Get up. Walk.
Keep moving.
Keep moving. The crying is not going to help. And so that's exactly what I did. So within about 3 weeks from that whining period, I had hit 5 kilometers. And then I said, bas jo hai so hai, abhi chalo. Let's go. And I think it was the most difficult thing I'd ever done in my life. I remember asking Bull Kumar, I said, Pala, will I be able to do this trek in my condition? And he said to me, Dilshad, when your body gives up, your mind will get you there.
Exactly.
I don't think there is wiser words ever spoken. Because that last day, Vishal, you've done this trek, so you know.
Gorakshep.
Yeah, Labuche, we did it more difficult because you got it easier because we learned from our experience. We did Labuche. We left at 4:30. We reached Gorakshep at 9:30. 4:30 in the morning, we were walking with head torches. It was dark across that glacial moraine, cold as hell. Yeah. And I remember walking and going, I kept saying to Pawan, who was with me, Pawan, yellow roses on my grave, huh? Yellow roses, don't give me any red roses. I'm going to die here. I was so cold. The nostrils would be, leaking and they would just freeze up. So every time you did this, you'd hear a katak sound because the ice was breaking. It was so cold. It was so miserable. We reached Gorakshep after 5 hours and we had quickly had YY
And then you
soup.
immediately went ahead. Okay, so we didn't do that.
Yeah, you didn't do that. Exactly. You learned from our experience. So we quickly had YY soup and then we headed to base camp. So we hit base camp at about 2:30 and then by the time we came back it was 5:30. So
that day was the most exhausting
It was
day.
an 11-hour day. And I remember trooping in and one of my very dear friends had not been allowed to move on because she was feeling sick in Gorakshep. So she was staying, waiting for us at the lodge. I remember going and sitting next to Geetu and I put my head on her lap. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried. I can't imagine how much I cried. I think I cried for all the things that have happened in the last 2 years. I just howled and howled and howled. And then she kept saying, you're just tired, baby. You're just tired. It was an 11-hour, but I think I needed to do that. I had, that for me was
the
a
release
catharsis.
is important. Yeah.
It was so important to do that. And So today I do a lot of talking about the cancer. I do a lot of talking to people saying there
Man,
is
you've
life
been on so many
after.
forums, you've been on so many
I think it's
magazines,
so,
TV shows.
so many people ask me also, the doctors at Tara, doctors at Apollo, please come and talk. I have friends who say, my best friends had cancer surgery. Please, Dilshad, will you talk to her? Because you're a living example. People just give up.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just a road bump. What are you giving up for? It's just a road bump. Get on with it. I mean, stop whining, get up, move.
There was a time people used to die of, small ailments,
Yes.
and average expectancy has gone up so high.
Exactly.
But again, it's about, I think cancer is a very emotional problem is what, talking to Luke is what I've understood, that mind plays a huge role.
Huge.
Even in cancer.
Huge.
Negativity is what feeds your cancer.
Absolutely. So what I did, Vishal, in these last 5 years that I have been in remission, I have removed all the negative people from my life because they are the manifestations of, how do you remove negativity? You have to start with something that's tangible, right?
Exactly.
So I just took them out of my life. I unfriended them, unfollowed them.
Exactly.
Just took their numbers off my phone. I just took them out of my life. So a lot of that just went away, And now I've surrounded myself with strong people, people who don't take bullshit from me,
And just look at Kamal Karnataka, right?
Exactly.
This man
he's
could
amazing.
not run, and now he did this
He's a
half
half
marathon at
marathon.
1 hour 51 minutes.
Amazing.
I'm like, dude, this is like
amazing.
He's like elite. I think this guy is going to do 1:30. I wouldn't be surprised if he trains.
He will, but he beat his time by 20 minutes
20
from last
minutes?
year or 15 minutes. That's what he
But
just
the
said.
minute you enter the below
Amazing.
2 hour range, that's incredible, and that's the kind of people you want to be with, right? Because
really.
you always want to see them do this stuff.
I just believe that. I surround myself with positive people now.
And now you're all about adventure, mountaineering.
Yeah, I
with
went to Everest
kids.
Base Camp again this year.
Yeah.
I went again in May. This time I took the longer route, went via Gokyo Lakes. I did the Zanskar rafting expedition last year, Kuari Pass. I'm going to do Annapurna next year.
And of course you met Rainer Messner. Last year, right?
Yeah. Reinhold this year.
This year.
Yeah. So Reinhold Messner is an old pal of Bull Kumar's. And we did a series of the Indian Himalayas with him as MHE helped with the entire back-end operations. It was a Swiss team that had come down to shoot with Reinhold. So that's where we met him the first time. He's my icon. He's truly my icon. I've worshipped this guy since I was 14 years old. And to finally shake his hand was like, I was in seventh heaven, and then I bumped into him on the way back. We were, that last haul from Lukla, from Fakding to Lukla, when you're like, bas yaar, ab bahut ho gaya,
we took a chopper from that.
Yeah, you took a chopper. So that last haul is like, enough, man, enough. I can't do this anymore. And you're literally counting the steps. Trekking has taught me that. That's taught me that. When you're just giving up, take it a step at a time. Literally a step at a time. So I would count 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd reach 20 and I'd count 1, 2. So I reached this Lukla gate, that famous Lukla gate. And then I had this partner with me. My nephew was with me on the team. And he comes running out of the gate because he'd obviously reached there some 2 hours ahead of me. And he said, Messner is here. And I was like, who? And he goes, Reinhold Messner. I was like, really?
At Lukla.
At Lukla. And he was shooting over there. And when you say that it's all in the head, the tiredness just disappeared. And I just charged up and I was like, yay, right. Gave a big hug. He gave me a big hug.
And he's like a big guy, right?
He's a big guy, but a short guy. He's a squatty guy. He's like Bull.
Yeah.
He's like big, but short and squatty. And it was great fun meeting him again. And he was shooting this sequence and he's saying, tell Bull I want to shoot in Siachen. I was like, yeah, come. So I led this trek to Siachen Glacier last year.
Of course, that was again, that was on some TV show, right? That was
a TV show that had been done by Eros now, but that came later. The trek was supposed to be the idea. They joined in later, yes. And I took Arjun Rampal and R.P. Singh, the cricketer, and there was Arunodai Singh and oh God, I can't remember.
So I really wanted
names.
to do it, but we did Everest Base Camp that year,
Yes, you did
right?
the same year. But I'll tell you something. I am never, ever again taking famous people with me for a trek like that.
Yeah.
Ever. It was just so harrowing. Arjun was fantastic. RP was they were all great. But my fear was, my God, if something happens to these people, I'm going to have the whole country down on me, you know, like a ton of bricks. So never
So how
again.
is Siachen different than the Everest trek?
So I found Siachen more in terms of the trek. It's much easier, but in terms of the environment, you're breathing in 40% less oxygen.
Oh.
So every step is exhausting. Every step. So in terms of the terrain, not difficult at all.
Siachen.
Yeah, nothing that was not doable. There are a lot of crevasses. You had to rope yourself up all the time. We had to walk in a rope, and you're walking on ice, you know, and it's a moraine. So there's all this dark dirt on it, which you don't realize under it is ice.
Mm-hmm.
So if you plant your foot in the wrong way, you go and you just slip, you know. So it took us a while to get used to that. There's a portion on the first day where you actually walk in, and then about 2.5 kilometers down, there's a 2-kilometer stretch of pure ice, white ice. And you have to cross over that to carry on. That was hard because that was literally a ridge like this. And it's sloping down this side and sloping down on this side. And I don't walk with sticks because I feel that sticks just encumber me. So I was having a hard time because I was literally, my body was at the 60-degree angle. And I kept thinking, I'm going to fall down, right down into this ravine. But you had the ustads there, you had the army there was helping you. And it was great. It was
I remember,
fantastic
during
experience.
one of my Delhi trips, I had also met you when you had this crazy idea of doing some tracking with GPS and for your daughter. What happened to that idea? I was like...
So that was actually an idea that came in from my brother.
Oh.
Yeah, that was my brother's idea where it was, that was the time when we were all worried about our little kids, and we still are. But
especially in Delhi, yeah.
Especially in Delhi. So she's now 6, and I don't think, I mean, the whole idea looked great on paper. But when you realize it, will a 4-year-old actually keep something like this strapped on their hand?
Yeah.
No.
That's a problem.
And if you make it permanent, then its likelihood of somebody just chopping the hand off to get rid of that is much higher. So instead, I just put my child in kung fu classes. Yeah. I was like, so for the last 1 year, she's been learning kung fu, and she's good.
Good at it. She can kick some serious ass.
Good.
There.
She can kick some serious ass.
Wow.
She's good. So I said, that's your protection. You will be good with this.
So what's coming up next? You have now done it all, right? So are you planning to go to space, or what's your next astronaut, or
So you know what the thing is, I don't do this stuff. Scuba diving, yes.
Oh.
I want to do that. I really do. But I've been
I
told
just randomly
I
said
really
scuba
want to
diving.
do it. I've been wanting to do it for several years now, but my ENT keeps telling me you can't because I have this DNS issue and severe sinusitis. So I said, look, you said the same thing to me when I went to Everest Base Camp. You said I won't be able to do it. You said to me the same thing when I went to Siachen, that I won't be. I said I can do it. So let me do this. So definitely next February. So there's this course in Noida, mind you, where they have this big tank where they teach you, they give you a paddy license.
Wow.
So, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to do that 4-day, 5-day course. Yeah. Because why would I waste my money and my time getting a paddy license in
Thailand or wherever, yeah.
I would rather just jump in and start diving there, right? So I'm going to swallow my pride and go here, and I'm going to get my license.
How would you tell people that you did it in a tank in Noida?
In a tank in Noida. I get my license. I can jump into the waters in Malaysia the day I land. I'm happy to do it. So that's the next plan. I have very short-term plans. So that's my next plan.
And with MHE now, what are you? I mean, you are taking the company to really the next level.
With MHE, yeah, we are focusing a lot. We're tied in with the name Mercury Himalayan Explorations because we are no longer just Himalayan. And we're no longer just explorations. We're more about active holidays. And to me, I think that was the greater space to be in is everybody is looking to experiment with. Nobody just wants to go and sit in a 5-star hotel and pay patta anymore, And so I think active holidays is the space that we are
No, and it's big, right? I mean, we do that every year, literally,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we are the best
So
example.
one of the things that we have started now, and we've been doing it very successfully for the last 5 years, is we do a lot of skiing trips. So
Yeah, Gulmarg,
Gulmarg now will start February and March is skiing for MHE. I mean, and we have introduced so many families. So everybody calls me and says, "My child is only 4." I was like, "Yeah, good age to learn skiing." At 4 years old, I was like, "Yeah." Well, my daughter was 4, I was 50, so yeah, we both learned skiing together, and I think. So that's what we are doing
that's
now.
definitely in my list of, we have to take the
Oh,
boys.
but
and
you
go and
must learn
skiing,
how
yeah.
to ski. You must.
Last time we had gone to Gulmarg, but that was more like a holiday, right?
So I did. Now, the thing about skiing again is that I did it for 5 years. I couldn't catch the poles. All right, every time I caught the poles, I would fall, and I was very afraid of dislocating both my shoulders, which I've dislocated multiple times before. So and every time I skied, I had a big trek coming up, Everest Base Camp or Siachen or something like that.
So if somebody wants to come for one of these ski lessons or
Just
Everest,
come.
so what is there a website? How does
There's a website.
MHE.
Just the MHE skiing in Gulmarg. Just search MHE skiing in Gulmarg and it comes up.
And like 7 days, 6 days, typically how
It's
much?
5 nights, 6 days. And by day 3, you're mostly up on the higher slopes. Akshay teaches everybody. We have a great team of instructors.
Yeah. So
And,
I'm promising that next year we're coming with the kids. Yeah,
So
we need to plan that.
plan it for February or March. We're all going.
Yeah.
We're going. I pulled my daughter out of school, and she's got great. I mean, she is such a phenomenal skier. She's a little pint-sized thing, but she zips down.
With a dad, a grandfather, and a mother like this, I
She's
can only
amazing.
imagine she's going to only
In fact,
reach
I
new
asked the
heights,
school,
yeah.
I said, are you sure I can pull her out for like 10 days? And I love the response I get from the school as well. She's going to learn a lot more skiing than she's going to learn in this classroom in 10 days. So please take her, And skiing is fun. I learned at the age of 50, Vishal, I can't tell you what an exhilarating experience it was coming down from Kangdori to Gulmarg, from phase 1. I was like this, wow, I'm actually skiing. And at the back of my head, I'm going, I think I'm moving too fast. I'm going to break my neck if I fall. I'm moving too fast. I'm going to break my neck if I fall. But it was amazing.
So,
amazing.
you have done so many variety of things. If somebody has to ask you that what are the 3 things you have learnt not to do again, what will that be?
Learnt not to do again.
Because there are many things you have done. So what do you not want to do again?
I would answer that question in the intangible. I think the one thing that I have learned never to do again is to underestimate my ability and to underestimate my body and to underestimate my mind. Because I think that is one thing I will never do again. The second thing is planning. I don't do. My life's personal planning, I never do.
So you want to do the planning now or you
No,
don't?
no. I will never do it again. There were always plans in the beginning, that, acha, ab ye karenge, fir ye karenge. Now, I don't even know. I keep thinking I'm going to Annapurna in May, but I have no plan. I haven't booked my ticket. I haven't done anything. I'll probably wake up in February and book my ticket. So, I'm not much of a planner. Never was, but for sure not any longer. And what would be the third thing? My God, that I would never do again is wine. I think one of the biggest things that we do is we whine a lot about everything. And I wasn't much of a whiner, but I just totally stopped with the whining. I mean, I have problems. I have severe backache. And Akshay said, why don't you just go? I was like, I'm living with it. Why are you whining?
So it's interesting that a few weeks back I was with Satya Nadella and he launched his book, and he has a very interesting quote in his book. He says, "A role of a leader is to find rose petals in a bed of shit."
That's so true. That is so true.
Life is full of shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's about finding rose petals there and not complaining about the shit there.
Just stop the complaining. Stop.
Yeah.
I can't take people who complain. I cannot take pessimists. I get physically upset when I hear pessimism around me. I just can't accept it.
Well, I think, and that's, since you've been on Goki, right, our whole philosophy was around being positive about everything, right? There's no right or wrong.
Absolutely.
It's about just being
That's
positive.
why I love the community, because I love being, I hate WhatsApp groups mostly, but I love the WhatsApp groups of Goki because you get to hear some great motivating stuff every day, from people who've achieved so many things that surprise themselves.
Exactly.
Which is great.
Exactly. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So out of all the world movies there are, what are the 3 movies you recommend everybody to see? Because that's
Wow.
one of my problems, right? I mean, you just don't know, maybe outside of Hollywood and Bollywood. I mean, which movies would one see?
I would. Okay, Jean Renoir's La Règle de Jeu, which is the rules of the
French.
game. Yeah,
French.
but that's again esoteric, old, black and white, but fabulous movie. Even today, I would watch any of the Korean Blood Brother movies. Any of them. They're all fantastic. Brilliant fighting, fantastic sequences. Editing is
Any
kach,
movie
kach,
name? Any movie name?
Oh, can't remember now.
Blood Brothers. Okay.
Blood Brothers was one. Which, of course, Majid Majidi. I mean, Iranian movies is, if you're looking for that kind of a pace, he's just totally brilliant. So I think the festival is going on right now, but unfortunately, you're not going to be able to catch anything this time.
And the 3 treks people should do in their
3
lives.
treks they should do in their lives. Everest Base Camp, I would say for sure.
Well, I've done that.
For sure.
The next 2.
I would. I found Kuwari Pass trek tougher than EBC.
What is more fun? Let's not
Fun.
talk about fun.
Let's talk about fun. Rather than a trek, if you want fun, I would do the Zanskar rafting expedition. That is just pure joy.
In summer, that's in summer.
July,
July.
August. Pure joy. My God, when you hit that grade 5 rapid and the boat goes like that and you guys splashed of icy cold -5 degrees temperature water.
You all wear a
you're just like, it's gorgeous.
And the third?
And the third, which I am planning to do now, I believe it's one of the most beautiful treks, is Annapurna. Annapurna Base Camp.
The circuit or just the base camp?
No, the base camp. The Annapurna
That's
Base Camp, the
different than the
Machu
circuit.
Picchu Base Camp, yeah. I believe that's gorgeous. It's not as high in altitude, but I'm told it's one of the prettiest treks that Nepal offers.
Yeah. And how does people introduce their kids to all this amazing world of trekking and all of that?
They just get onto our website or they just call.
And how old can kids do this now?
For the treks, Everest Base Camp, I would not take anybody who's below 12. I'll take my own kid, but I won't take anyone else's.
But other kind of treks?
Skiing, you can do it at 4. Zanskar, you have to be 14. For any kind of rafting now, you have to be 14 minimum. Skiing, you start at 3.5.
And the best place to ski in India is Kashmir.
Gulmarg, yeah, without a doubt. There is no other place. And for trekking, I took Saira for a trek to Kashmir when she was 4.5. And she trekked 12 kilometers on day 1 without a grumble at 4.5.
So what are the 3 most amazing Parsi dishes you recommend people to try?
Dhansak.
Of course, Dhansak everybody has done.
Dhansak made by me.
Okay, so now,
All right.
Now that I have to try. I have not done that yet.
Well, let's get that very clear. Dhansak in every Parsi household tastes different.
Okay.
All right. No 2 Dhansaks are the same. So my mum and mine, and of course my Masi, because we all share the same recipes. Prawn curry rice.
Oh, Parsi style.
Yum. And very difficult to make. It takes me 3 hours to make that daan masala, So I wait for my mother to come sailing in and make the masala for me. Dhansak, prawn curry rice, and the simplest, what we call dhandar, which is basically arhar dal, chawal, and kolmino patyo, prawn patya.
Prawn
As you
patya.
see, everything has rice in it.
Yeah, and prawns.
And prawns.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my favorite 3. Top 3 recommendations.
And which are the 3 holiday destinations you like to go
Kashmir, for sure. Lake. Go ahead.
Kashmir is no longer safe and all that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I get really upset with people who go, oh, Kashmir and all. I mean, nowhere in India is it safe. You go to New York, right?
Yeah.
You went to London, right? They just had the bombing there. Did that stop you? Come on, for heaven's sake, grow up. Gulmarg is fabulous. It's beautiful. It's absolutely and totally safe, whether you go in the summers or in the winters. I would say Kashmir, number 1. The Black Forest area in Germany, Lake Titisee area, number 2. Beautiful. Postcard pretty. Absolutely gorgeous. And if it was if I had to choose anywhere else in the world where I haven't been right now, I want to go and see the Northern Lights.
Well, I have done that. So Harpreet and I had been in Iceland.
Yeah, I want to do that.
That is amazing.
I want to do
that's
that.
Absolutely one of the must-do things in the world.
It has to be. I'm just waiting for my daughter to grow up a little bit. One of the things I would never do ever again, Disneyland. Never!
It's one of those rituals which kids have to
Disney
do.
World. We did it 3 months back. You have to give me a medal for that, and you have to pay me a lot of money to go back again. I'd never do it. But she had a blast. Interestingly, when I asked my 6-year-old, so Sarah, what did you like about Disney World? She does not mention anything about Disney World. The only thing she remembers is the ride, which was
Space
the
Mountain.
Everest. No, the Everest ride.
Oh, they have an Everest ride.
They have
also.
an Everest ride now, which was so scary. When I got off it, I just started howling.
Oh.
I just howled and I howled and I howled. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. And she was like, that was fun. Let's go again. That's all she remembers about Disney World.
So what is this one piece of hardware or equipment or anything which you own which is less than 10,000 rupees and you recommend everybody to get?
My Goki.
Oh, is that so?
Absolutely.
So how many people have you now got on
So,
Goki?
you know what? Every time I send anybody recommendations and I ask them, have you used my reference because you'll get a discount? No, everybody loses the reference. But I have about 5 friends. In fact, I just connected with KK from Goki saying I've got one friend I've managed to convince after almost a year to get onto Goki. She's got severe migraine, severe health issues. I said, please get her a good coach because she really needs. I've taken me so long to get her on board and she needs to see benefits quickly. I think this is one of the best things that I'm not a gadget freak otherwise, as you can see. Oh, well, I bought this Sunto, which normally costs 32,000, but I bought it for 6.5.
How was that?
There was a sale going on Amazon that lasted 8 hours.
Wow.
And I spotted it and I just picked it up. But that's it. No gadgets otherwise.
And what are your life hacks? What are the things you do to make your life simpler, either on the ground or the mountains or anywhere else?
I don't worry too much.
That's not a life hack.
It's a life hack. I don't worry too much about the future. I don't worry at all. Do I have a life hack? I know your life hack is to wear red every day, right? So that it makes life so much easier for you. But I would just die if I had to wear the same color every day. But I've taken away shoes that need to be polished from my life.
Okay.
Completely. Because I don't
As a woman, it's a big deal, right?
Yeah. I don't want to sit over there and polish. I'm just, forget it. So it's cloth shoes which just go into the washing machine and come out. So I have like 4 of these pairs. I don't wear much jewelry. I don't like to keep changing my stuff because I find it most annoying and I lose everything. So I've decided now. So I put everything away. I don't want it. I gave a lot of the stuff to my friends. Don't want. It makes life easy for me. What is my life 3 hack? God, I can't even remember. I just like life easy. One of my biggest hacks, I think, is not arguing with my daughter. I think I've learned
you can't
that
argue with the kids
win.
today, yeah.
I cannot win, and I've learned that the more I raise my voice and get angry, the less chances of that argument going anywhere. So one of the biggest hacks I've learned is to talk really softly and say, Saira, I think we need to discuss this. And
you have to talk to them almost like adults.
Yeah, because then suddenly you see those eyeballs expand and you got her attention. But if you're going and screaming, she's not listening. So that's my biggest life hack.
Yeah, that's a life hack every parent needs to know.
I learned
adopt,
it the
right?
hard way about a couple of months back. Like if I talk really softly, she's listening. But if I just scream, I'm like totally on deaf ears.
Wow. I must say, Dilshad, your life is like a roller coaster. Like, I mean, you've done all kinds of crazy things and you are only going ahead and going onwards and upwards. So amazing. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you
and
for having me.
I'm sure we're going to get you back here because now I think you're going to make some new world record going into something.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to apply to the Limca Book of World Records. I'm probably the oldest person ever to have stepped on the Siachen Glacier.
Ooh.
I'm sure. And as a woman, for sure.
Wow.
Because I had the commander at the Siachen Glacier. I didn't tell you this, but he talked to me And he kept talking to Akshay while we were being briefed. So finally Akshay said, sir, she's leading the expedition. So then he turned his direction towards me and he says, if I had my way, madam, nobody over 40 would step on my glacier. Mm-hmm. So I said, oh, it's pretty good you don't have your way then, right? Mm-hmm. So when we came back, I went up and I shook his hand and I said, Colonel, not only did you not have your way, I am almost 50 and I stepped on your glacier. Guess what? And I was like, that was the breaking of so many myths in one shot, especially where the Indian Army is concerned. I think that was a great thing to do.
You are possibly the poster child, the biggest icon when it comes to breaking the barriers. People think that, cancer is the end of the world, but after, your remission...
It's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
It's the beginning. For me, it's been a beginning of an all-new world.
Yeah, it's like you've been able to reboot your system.
Yes, absolutely.
And, get to a completely new you. So, absolute pleasure. And we are going to get you back on the show. And everybody out there... You need to now go with Dilshad to one of our expeditions and see how amazing she is.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot again, Dilshad.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
एक्सक्यूज मी भैया, एक्सक्यूज मी.
बोलिए मैडम.
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, टिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर सकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है. आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम. आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप. सब आपकी उंगलियों पे.